Hi everyone, today is August 1st, 2020. This is the Duel Assessment, your podcast for Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. My name is Green Ranger. We got a huge week in Duel Links this week. First of all, it's August, so happy August. We've made it through another month in this weird year. But in Duel Links, we got Clash at Crashtown, Duelist Road, acquisition event for Kalin, Kessler, new cards, new skills, all that jazz. We have a new box, Infernity Destruction. A bunch of new archetypes. We're just going to go over the URs and SRs of this box. Not to mention Esports. A lot of stuff was released this week, including the KCGT main tournament first stage. I don't think these results are final yet, but we have some decks that made it. So we're going to talk about the decks that made it. And it's not exactly confirmed either, but we'll talk about it. Some shake-up in the Duel Links meta tier list update, and a bunch of announcements. So let's get to it. My week, ever since I hit King of Games, I've been doing nothing, so I've just been enjoying that Duelist Road event, and it's honestly one of my favorite events. It's been, it's a minimal time commitment. It teaches you about the storyline of 5Ds, which I never watched. It made me enjoy the storyline, made me want to watch 5Ds. I got all my cards. I turned them prismatic. I mean, what else can you ask for? It is August 1st, though, so I should start my next step towards King of Games. I've hit King of Games the last 3 seasons, so now I'm fully into that mode. I've been pretty lazy in the past where I just don't go for King of Games, but now I'm going to go for it. Looks like I'm going to play Witchcrafters again. I'm one of the few balanced Witchcrafter players out there. I don't play Show of Nightmares, but we'll see how the meta goes. And I've hit max gems. I haven't bought this box yet, but Duelist Road has helped me hit max gems, so I'm pretty happy in that regard. Alright. Announcements. Yu-Gi-Oh! Neuron has been released. This is the app I was talking about, the Card Companion app. It does a few things. It looks up cards, so it's a card catalog. Life point counter, dice, coin flipper, all those other things. It's all in a fancy UI though, so it's like Kaiba Corp made it or something. So fancy UI. It's out on Android and Apple, I believe. So get Yu-Gi-Oh! Neuron. Just look up cards in your spare time. I think Yugipedia is better for it, frankly, because they show more cards and it's more lightweight. But this is fancy. If you are in an official duel, you should probably be using this. Oh yeah, it also has a card recognition. So the camera takes a picture of the card and it recognizes it. So it's more of a TCG thing, if that's your kind of thing. But, you have space on your phone, you might as well get it. Duel Links Remote Duel Invitational is streaming August 9th. So that's more than a week away. No other details. This is from the official Twitter account. They don't say who is participating in it yet. It's interesting to see who they invite to it. Hopefully it would be actually Duel Links players, not some random people they take off the street, or even TCG players. TCG players have some time adjusting to Duel Links. This is a different game. It's not the same thing. So I hope they actually do invite Duel Links players, because there are a ton of Duel Links players. They get no press at all. Last announcement is Duel Links Mania. This is happening tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. This is hosted by the Duel Links of the Boys podcast. Also some other collaborators. 120 people in this first event. And then the main event of the card, Shadow Realm Shad versus Rain. 2 podcasters are going to go at it. Look at the smash.gg link I've included there. They're going to have the link to Twitch to stream to watch tomorrow. I'm going to check it out. I think they're closed in registering spots because 120 seems like a pretty round number, but you could still try if you want. But that is tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, and stay tuned for the link. Alright, let's get to this week in esports. We have the results from the KCGT main tournament first stage. I'm just reading off the decks here, but according to the way they tallied the results, Witchcrafters kind of came out on top. Black Wings second, Element Sabers third, Invoked Neos and Blue Eyes in fourth place. So it's kind of catapulted Witchcrafters over the top decks. 2 players hit 6-0. Karaki, Level Duplication Shiranui. This deck uses the 2 Spectral Sword, 1 Cosmic Cyclone of the 3 21 card deck, Artifact Lancia, whole array of trap cards. You get the picture here. Forbidden Lance. KW Row, 6-0 as well. Shadow Game, Ritual Beast. Ritual Beast running some of things like Karma Cut and Floodgate Trap Hole here. No Lava Golems here. Red Y, 5-1. Bring It Destiny Hero. I heard Red Y is going to get banned because he's from mainland China and he had to use a VPN to play, which kind of sucks for people there. It seems to be the only way they could play Duel Links. And yeah, it sucks. But how much to say? Bring it. Your tutoring plasmas. That's what the deck is. Pretty basic masked hero deck. Matsu D, Show of Nightmares, Lightsworn, Witchcrafter. This is the core build here. Seeing this deck a lot. Triple Storm seems to be a main thing. Minerva and Lila. So Minerva's the only tuner. I'm pretty sure I copied this deck into my game, so I'm really familiar with this deck. 2 Econ is the semi-limit. That's useful. 2 each of the Witchcrafter spells. Dark Ragno went 5-1. Dark Ragno played Switcheroo, Invoked Neos, and Restart Dark Magician. You're seeing MVP so far. It's Karma Cut. 2 Karma Cuts in these decks. Yeah. This is in Japanese, but it's pretty funny. It translates to biceps that silences a crying child. 5-1 with See You Later Black Wings. This is something we're seeing on the Japanese scene. See You Later Black Wings. Net Run 5-1. Restart Dark Magician. Triple Karma Cut. This deck is expensive. Sukaruku 5-1. See You Later Dark Magician. And Show of Nightmares, Lightsworn, Witchcrafter. Witchcrafter deck looks pretty similar to the last one. Triple Storm, 2 Econ, that's what they like. Lila and Minerva again. See You Later, Dark Magician. You know, the Dark Magician just runs a lot of back row now, so they're a little tricky. Takahisa, 5-1. Endless Trap House Guki. Again, a lot of Guki. You're going to see this deck later on. But Guki only have their 8 core cards and then just all your best back row. GAOV, Endless Trap Hell, Element Saber, Raikou, Invoked Raikou, Element Saber. It's pretty much an Element Saber deck, except they have 2 Raikou for some reason. I guess it helps fill up the graveyard and non-target destroy. The light attribute does nothing to the strategy because they already have Lapoya, so I guess it adds another, like a minor buff to the graveyard, I guess. Whole array of trap cards here. Fukusuki, 5-1, Show of Nightmares, Lightsworn, Witchcrafter. This is kind of the old build, 2 Raidens, but then you still got your 3 Storms and 2 Econs, so it seems to be, no one's using Machine Angel Ritual, which saddens me. So now we get into the 4-2s. According to the game app itself, there's more 4-2s that made it, and I don't know how they decided it, but in Duel Links meta, we have 4 Surakokun, 4-2, Peak Performance Black Wings, pretty standard deck there. Yeah, they don't show you the decks in the app itself, so I'm looking at Duel Links meta. A couple of 4-2s made it, but as long as you're 6-0 and 5-1, you made it, unless you got banned for some reason, but 4-2, a few 4-2s made it. Which sucks because there's a lot of 4-2s. Alright, so that's it. Battle phase number 80. First place, Fake Zix, Alternative Evolution, Blue Eyes. Fusion-based Blue Eyes was picking up steam on the ladder, but now we're returning to the original Alternative Blue Eyes. Put your best traps in with Graveyard Synergy discards, so there's 2 Raigeki Breaks and 2 Ultimate Providence. Vidugava, level Og Shiranui, 3 copies of Spectral Sword. This is something you never see. But here we are, 3 copies here. 3 copies of Ballista Squad as well, though. So they kind of try to get in the graveyard, max out those 2 synergies there. Raigeki Break as well. So 3 Raigeki Break, 3 Ballista Squad, 3 Spectral Sword. It's going in the graveyard. Top 4, UMAD, level Og Shiranui. This one uses the 3rd limit 3 slot for Cosmic Cyclone. Otherwise, pretty standard deck. Bad Aim is starting to see more and more play. Top 4, Trooper M1, Balanced Dark Magician. So Dark Magician has been opened up. You could really use it in many different skills. We saw See You Later with those tournament decks. Balance here, Beat Down sometimes. Heat Wave seems to be a pretty standard card for the deck now. Karma Cut. If you have Karma Cut, you might as well use it no matter what deck you have. Alright, Duel Links Meta Weekly number 135. First place, Anthox, who will be competing in the Duel Links Mania. Destiny, Draw, Invoked Element Sabers. Pretty standard deck here. Just your 1 copy of Lapoya and Nalu. Everything else is a standard. 3 copies of Alistair, 3 Malehus. Yeah. A lot of good trap cards. Second place, Puzzles with Mythic Depths, Sea Stealth, Cristrons. Cristrons aren't completely dead here. They're relying on back row. 2 copies of Karma Cut, of course. If you got it, you use it. 1/1 split, Crystron, Ryan, and Impact. That's kind of what the nerf was, but they made it work with 1 each there. Top 4, Minato, Destiny, Draw, Jinzo, Blackwings. This is an interesting deck. There is a Necro Valley in the sideboard and Jinzo, so I guess you could just use whichever one you want. And then Destiny Draw is triggered by 2 copies of a Pointer of the Red Lotus. We saw this in some Kaiba Cup where they did it with Element Sabers. But here it is again, back with Destiny Draw. Yeah. And top 4, Francis K, 007, Endless Trap Hell, Guki, similar to the deck we saw in the tournament scene, except they packed in 2 Necro Valleys here. This is a very lean core, 8 core Guki cards, 3 Suprex, 3 Twist Cobra, 2 Scorpio, and then you throw in a lot of trap cards. Alright, so all those results, I think primarily from the KCGT Stage 1, has updated the tier list in Duel Links Meta. Witchcrafters have been promoted to the sole Tier 1 status, and this makes me even want to run Balanced Witchcrafter even more, because everyone's expecting that Endless Trap Hell deck, not Endless Trap Hell, the Show of Nightmares deck. When they see Arcana, they're going to know what to do, so I'm going to surprise them with a Balanced Witchcrafter, but they're considered Tier 1 here. We made it. Tier 2, Black Wings have been demoted to Tier 2. Invoked Neos have been promoted. Blue Eyes, Element Saber, Shiranui as well. Pretty crowded here. Usually, Tier 2 is the crowded tier, typically. And Tier 3, Crystron's Dark Magician, Masked Hero, Rituals, Beasts. So Ritual Beasts are like the eternal Tier 3 deck. And Cyber Dragons have been moved off the tier list like I expected. They finally got their skill and card nerf. Seems way too much for them to even stay on the tier list. It's hard to say. It's hard to expect them to stay on the tier list, but anyone could have seen this coming. Talk about the main event this week. That is Duelist Road Clash at Crashtown. Like I said before, I actually really enjoyed this event. I got everything already just from doing the 3 of each stage. And I think part of it is me not knowing 5Ds. And I really like the flavor of this. It's completely ripped off of spaghetti western movies like Good, Bad, and the Ugly and Fistful of Dollars, whatever, things like that. But we get this character, Kalin Kessler, who we were exposed to the Dark Signer version. This guy is a self-loathing, depressed guy who wants to die, literally wants to die. And he looks cool, so it's pretty cool to get a Legendary Duelist who looks cool. And the cards are not half bad either. So it's kind of like Carly Carmine's Fortune Ladies. You get these Infernities. They come together with the box purchase. Let's go through the lottery rewards first. Infernity Doom Dragon. Level 8 Dark Dragon Synchro. Dark Tuner. One or more non-tuners, 3,000 attack, 2,400 defense. Once per turn, if you have no cards in hand, select one monster your opponent controls, destroy that monster, and inflict damage to your opponent equal to half its attack. This card cannot attack this during the same turn you activate its effect. So you'll hear this a lot from me, but I really, really like this card. Comparable to another level 8 Synchro in Dark End Dragon and Blue Eyes Alternative. It's kind of like a cross between Dark End Dragon and Blue Eyes Alternative. Requirements are like Dark End Dragon, except it's reversed. This requires a Dark Tuner and a regular non-tuner. Could be Dark too, it doesn't matter, but the Dark End Dragon needs any tuner, Dark non-tuner. They both do a similar thing where they send a monster to the graveyard, non-targeting. That one is like a non-target send. This is a non-target destroy. So they're both similar things. This doesn't dodge a Neos fusion protection. That one does. It's different things. But the ability is a lot like Blue Eyes Alternative. Blue Eyes Alternative is target and destroy. This is select and destroy. So it's not really... It shouldn't be a target ability. But then you get this big burn off. You could destroy it and inflict damage to half its attack. That's huge. It basically makes up for not attacking, and sometimes you'll get an even bigger benefit. And the monster gets burned for its attack, not its original attack. So if someone gets buffed, you hit them, they might lose the duel. So it doesn't matter if this card doesn't attack a turn. You hit them with that burn, and it could be worse. So this is an Infernity Synchro, though, so you do need no cards in hand. But I think this card is good enough to be used generically as a level 8 Synchro if the deck uses Dark Tuners. You're not going to force a bad Dark Tuner that doesn't fit with your other Synchro menu, right? So it has to be like universally good Dark cards. I'm thinking of cards like Black Salvo, Plague Spreader Zombie, Junk Synchron, Gen X Controller for Crystron, Fortune Lady Past for Fortune Lady, Psy Reflector maybe. Psy Reflector can manipulate levels, so that's another possibility. All those cards can work. This card is one of the best Synchro monsters I've seen in some time. So, you can't force this into every deck. I can't force this into Witchcrafters because they have no Dark Tuners, so they're borrowing the Lightsworn, so that doesn't even work. So where this could fit in with as long as the Dark Tuner is not disruptive to your overall strategy, I would try to run this card. Alright. Infernity Destroyer, level 6, Dark Fiend, 2,300, 1,000. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, inflicts 1,600 damage to your opponent. You must have no cards in your hand to activate and resolve this effect. This can inflict big burn, kind of like Infernity Doom Dragon, but the overall package kind of sucks here. Disappointing, 1 tribute, 2,300 here. Big burn dependent on destroying that monster by battle and having no cards in hand. So there's multiple situations going on here. I don't really like this card. If Infernity run nobody and you could just special summon this card, sure, but I think they have much better options to play with. We'll see. I have no idea how to build the deck. I feel like they have better options. Fabled Ashenvale, level 4, Light Fiend, 1,600, 1,200. When this card attacks or is attacked, during damage calculation in either player's turn, send a card from your hand to the graveyard. Once per battle, this card gains 600 attack during that damage calculation only. You're going to randomly see Fabled splash into other archetypes. One example is the Block Dragon deck. There was a Fabled... forget which card, but there's a Fabled card in that deck. And there are Light Fiends, which is interesting. You could use this kind of chaos thing sometimes. But this card's not very good. The only thing this is good for is winning a fight against something with 1700 to 2100 attack. Otherwise, it can't win a fight. You do get a benefit off by tossing a card from the hand. So if this is a Fabled card, that's what they do. They discard. It's kind of like Infernities, I guess. So there's some synergy with Infernities. You get to the goal of being handless. Generally, a card like this, you would think of a chaos strategy because it's a light fiend or something. But disposing from the deck could be more useful. This kind of works towards the Infernity thing with being handless. Fabled aren't really a thing, so I don't see this being useful. It just wins fights against other small monsters. So you can unlock Kalin Kessler pretty easily. Let's see what we got here. Start off with his level up cards. 3 copies of Infernity Doomslinger. Level 1 Dark Fiend, 100 attack and defense. If you have no cards in hand and your opponent activates a card or effect that would inflict damage to you, quick effect, banish this card from your graveyard. Make that effect to 0. Then your opponent chooses whether or not to apply this effect. Excavate the top card of your deck. If it's a monster, inflict 2,000 damage to your opponent. Otherwise, you take 2,000 damage. Shuffle the excavated card into your deck. This card counters burn effects, which spells Doom for Doomslinger being meta relevant, unfortunately. The only big, unless that Infernity Doom Dragon becomes mainstream, which it won't, this can't even counter Lava Golem because that's your own monster. So like the meta burn card does not get countered. This card is really cool though. It's an anime card. It mimics a duel. The odds of having a monster getting shot is taking 2,000 damage. Wild West Gunslinger Crashtown Arc flavor. I like it. You're not going to play this in ranked though, but I like the flavor very much. Goblin King, 3 copies of this card. Level 1, Dark Fiend, 0/0. More like question mark, but to give it 0/0. While you control another Fiend monster, this card cannot be attacked. The attack and defense of this card are equal to the number of Fiends on the field, except for this one times 1,000. This is meant to be a big normal summon, but it's hurt by speed duels only having 3 zones, and then you can't even count itself. So the biggest this could be is 2,000 on your own. The other strategy is to hit DNA Surgery, turn everyone into a Fiend, but we haven't even seen Buster Blader and Dragons in a while, so this will not stick. 3 copies of Infernity General, level 7 Dark Fiend, 2,700, 1,500. If you have no cards in hand, you can banish this from your graveyard. Target 2 level 3 or lower Infernity monsters in your graveyard. Special summon them from the graveyard, but their effects are negated. This is kind of like the spell from the box. This is like, let's see what's called. Infernity Launcher. It's very similar. You would like this card to be in the graveyard, so then you can, you tossed a bunch of stuff out. You banish this, get 2 of them back, get a synchro play right there. Otherwise, you could cheat out this as a 2,700 attack beater. You can toss this and get Infernity Launcher to get this out. Find card for the graveyard. Level 7, so it's a bigger, more stars for your big synchro summons. I think, and then you can also set up like a synchro summon and XZs soon. So I think this is going to be a core part of Infernities being decent. Infernity General seems to be the best 3 of card we got. 1 copy of Infernity Archer, level 6 Dark Fiend, 2,000, 1,000. If you have no cards in hand, this card can attack your opponent directly. This card doesn't have to be an Infernity. You can OTK your opponent with this easy. You could just pack your deck with Hey Trunade, big equip spells like Backup Rider, Axe of Fools. There was a deck like that. I forget what it was, but it was like Tenkabito Shen Beater deck. This is a very similar card. Could use a dedicated deck of its own just to kill your opponent right there, but that's why we only get one copy. It's too easy to abuse this ability. They're going to hit its consistency. It seems like we're not going to get more than one of this ever, really. Alright, we get our third and fourth copies of Infernity Break and Infernity Necromancer, so we won't talk about those. But we are getting one copy of Infernity Barrier Counter Trap. When your opponent activates a spell, trap, or monster effect while you control a face-up attack, Infernity monster, and have no cards in hand, negate the activation. If you do, destroy that card. Again, this reminds me a lot of Dark Signer Carly. We get one copy of Bending Destiny with Fortune Ladies, and that's a similar counter trap where you need that face-up monster on the field. This needs a face-up Infernity and being handless, but very good card. Negate and destroy on any spell, trap, or monster effect, so it hits anything. You could win the duel right there. That's why you only get one. Yeah, pretty good card. Let's go over the duel skills quickly. We only got 4 unique duel skills here. A lot of them share with the Dark Signer, Kalin Kessler. Avenger from the Void. Begin the duel with Infernity Avenger in the graveyard. The skill will not activate if you begin the duel with decks. If you begin the duel of a deck with monsters other than darks. So this is similar to what grows in the graveyard. You keep a monster in the graveyard so you could quickly do a synchro summon. This also increases the number of Infernities you have in the graveyard, so it helps out your Infernity Launcher and your General. Yeah. Infernity Avenger modulates levels depending on what is destroyed, so you can kind of keep a toolbox with Infernities. That's a nice thing with them, keeping a different number of stars. I was quicker than you. At the beginning of the duel, recover the starting player's life points by 2,000. I'm not sure how this works, but what I think it is whoever gets to go first will gain 2,000 life points automatically. So it's 50-50 of you getting 2,000 or your opponent. This could be useful for decks to use life points, like Air Images. You can get away 50-50 of being ahead on life points right away, so you could just take over from there and control the board with your Air Images. This could also be useful for a deck that pays life points like Evil Eye or Vampires. Handless Combo Infinity. Begin the duel with 0 cards in your hand and Infernity Doom Dragon on your side of the field. This doesn't look too bad because I like Infernity Doom Dragon a lot. It's one of the best synchro monsters. You don't have to have that dark tuner anymore. You just get this guy on the board. If your opponent goes first, you just control the board, unless you're forced in to set cards face down. They're not going to be able to destroy you, unless they have like Herald of the Abyss or something like that. So, and this also works towards your strategy of being handless, so that's an advantage. But then there's a lot of dead cards too. Infernity General won't work. Infernity Launcher won't work when you have no cards. Like, there's nothing in the graveyard. You're starting from scratch. That's what hurts about this skill. You don't get to start off with your hand to dump to activate your effects. So you're going to have to build your deck a certain way. The Infernity Archer works well with this card because you're going to have no cards in hand, and you draw this card, you can attack directly for 2,000, so it's pretty nice. Having that Infernity Doom Dragon on the board is pretty cool, I think. Finally, Avenger and Doom Dragon. At the beginning of the duel, add 2 Infernity Avenger to your deck, then add an Infernity Doom Dragon to your extra deck. We've seen this skill with like every character in 5Ds. Increase your deck size by 2, increase your extra deck by 1. Not much to say about it. Infernity Avenger is better in your graveyard. The other skill where you get to keep that. And you get 7 cards to make a bigger synchro menu. That's an advantage, I guess. But I don't know. I see the other skills being better than this one. Yeah, so that's it. That is Clash at Crash Town, and Kalin Kessler. I really like the event. I like the character. I like the cards. The cards aren't, absolutely horrible. We're getting a tier 4 deck with the cards in the new box complementing that. Alright, let's get to the new box here. Infernity box, Infernity Destruction came out yesterday. We get Kalin Kessler at the same time, so this is kind of like there's a very similar thing to Carly Carmine and Fortune Ladies. You can't really play the archetype with all the free cards you get until you buy the stuff from the box. So it's the same thing here with the Infernities. We got all these free cards from both Kalin Kessler characters, and then the best ones are in this box. There's 2 very key cards in this box. There's also a bunch of other new archetypes here. Perform Pals. We're not going to talk about any of them today because they're all R's and N's. The Weather. X-Sabers. X-Sabers aren't new. Some Morgs. A couple of Fur Hires. We'll talk about those some other day. But we'll talk about the SRs and URs. Start off the URs. Of course, you only get 1 per box. Infernity Archfiend. Level 4 Fiend. Dark 1800, 1200. When you draw this, if you have no other cards in your hand, you can reveal it, special summon it from your hand. When special summoned, add an Infernity from your deck to your hand. You must have no cards in your hand to activate and resolve this effect. So yeah, the Infernities, all their abilities are based off the handless condition. And you have to use the the dual skills from Kalin Kessler to your advantage. And this is pretty much a worker. It's a level 4, 1800. Those are pretty good stats on their own. And then a worker. You special summon it and draw a card. That's like what? Like 2 free cards right there. There's a free summon and a free draw. So, if you're building Infernities, you probably need 3 of this card. I honestly have no idea how to build the deck at all. But this is a very key card. You can just tell it's good. Free ability, special summon, free draw. That's pretty much a +2 right there. So you're probably going to want to run this card if Infernities are decent, half decent. Yugioh Guardian. This is not a new card. This is a selection box card. Level 6, Earth Warrior Synchro. Requires Earth Tuner and a non-tuner that's not specific. 2800, 2000. When it destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the GY, you can special summon that monster to your field in defense. So, this is part of that Akiza Synchro Toolbox deck I used. It's not like... It's a card you make a meta call. It's not the most core card in Akiza Synchro Toolbox, but it's the strongest. Level 6, 2800. Sometimes you just need to get over some bigger monsters, 2600, 2700. This guy can do it. And it works well with that deck because Angel Trumpeter, which is the main tuner for Akiza Synchro Toolbox, is an Earth tuner. So, it works great. Math works great. Its ability to steal the monsters is good against certain decks. When I played the deck a lot, it was pretty good against Blue Eyes, for example, because they needed the Stone of Ancients, or whatever you call it, in the graveyard to activate the effect. So if you steal it, they won't have that effect. So, Synchro Toolbox, you're going to judge the situation about what you want to do. Yugioh Guardian fits pretty well. Its ability isn't the best because you have to win a battle, and winning a battle depends on, getting through the back row. So you have to play, Cosmic Cyclone or whatever, but it's a bit of a win more card, honestly. You're just stealing your opponent's monsters, but you do play it to play around graveyard effects that are going to hurt you. Next card is Demise, King of Armageddon, level 8, Dark Fiend Ritual. 2400, 2000. You can ritual summon this card with the ritual spell End of the World. You can pay 2000 life points to destroy all other cards on the field. Very similar card to Judgment Dragon. Judgment Dragon is 3000 The ability costs only 1,000 though, but it's the same situation where it is a optional ability. You have to choose to pay the life points. So it's not like Black Rose Dragon where it's automatic. You can flip this card face down before it can activate the ability. Now this 2,000 life point cost, its only advantage over Judgment Dragon is you pay 2,000, so you could use Destiny Draw with it or something. Some kind of dual skill upgrade where you need to lose those extra life points. I have to say, otherwise, it's okay, but this, it's ready. Like, it's got the same stats as Black Rose Dragon. You have to pay more. You have to pay life points. Judgment Dragon does it better. There's a lot of better cards in this. This does, you could build your deck with level 8 monsters, tribute them and stuff, but this also works with Ritual Raven. Ritual Raven's just a level 1. Yeah, it's pretty lackluster. I don't see a deck building around this. Unless there's something busted with Destiny Draw, but I don't think there is. The companion card, Ruin, Queen of Oblivion, level 8, Fairy Ritual, 2300, 2000. You can ritual summon this card with the ritual spell End of the World. When this attacking card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can activate this effect. This card can make a second attack in a row. Very mediocre. Same requirements as the Demise. You can't use Ritual Raven though, so you're going to have to stick with the level 8s. Might be useful with like Blue Eyes if you want the Blue Eyes in the graveyard or something. That works okay. Less attack. You're paying 8 stars for 2300. Has to destroy an opponent's monster by battle, which is same stumbling block as Goyo Guardian, but that's cheaper and has more attack. Attack twice. I mean, it's very mediocre. Samorg, Bird of Bringing, level 2, Wind, Winged Beast, 1000. When this card is normal summoned, you can add a Samorg card from your deck to your hand, except for this one. If this card is in your graveyard and your opponent controls no cards in their spell and trap zone, you can special summon this card in defense, but banish it when it leaves the field. You cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn, except for Winged Beasts. Okay. So, typical worker for the archetype. Normal summon, tutor any Samorg card from the deck. Situational graveyard resurrection, because they're a tribute summon archetype. Only if this archetype is good, or you're trying to play this deck for fun or something, you're going to need 3 of these. You probably want to build Infernities. So, that reminds me, Infernity Archfiend is an Archfiend. But let's say you're building Infernities, you happen to get 3 of these, play some Morgs, I guess. That's what it is. I don't think you're shooting to play some Morgs, though. Samorg of Darkness, level 8, Dark Winged Beast, 2900, 2000. While face up on the field, this card is also a Wind attribute. You can use each effect once per turn. If you tribute summon a Dark or Wind monster, you can special summon this card from the graveyard. When a spell or trap or effect is activated, you can quick effect tribute a Wind Winged Beast monster, negate activation, destroy that card. This is a nice card. Dual attribute mechanic, Dark and Winged Beast, very interesting. It likes to be in the graveyard, so it could get cheated out, I think. So you could cheat it out of another tribute summon, and then it comes out of the graveyard for free. The better effect is the quick effect to negate a spell or trap effect. And let's see, you have to tribute a Wind Winged Beast, so you're going to have to put a smaller monster out or something. Pretty good ability though, negate and destroy any spell, trap, or effect. So monster effects work too. This is a card you want on the board. High attack, pretty cool card. But I think overall the package is a little clunky. Sometimes you're gonna have to normal summon this guy out, and that prevents them from coming out too easily, and that will be completely dominant. Weather Painter Snow, level 3 Earth Fairy, 0 attack, 2200 defense. When this is a normal summon, you can place a weather spell or trap from your deck face up in your spell or trap zone. You can use this effect once per turn. Once per turn during the standby phase, after this card was banished from the field to activate the weather card's effect. That reads horribly. You can special summon this banished card. Very interesting card. These, the weather cards, you can play a spell or trap directly from the deck face up. So that means you can activate a trap without waiting a turn, which is pretty cool. It's kind of like Typhoon coming out of the hand for free. But you got 5 choices here. There's 5 the weather cards in, like the weather fields and spells and traps in this box. They also appear to self-banish each other, so it just comes back to the field. So it's pretty nice. I don't know anything about this archetype. I don't know if it's going to be good or what, but another core card in the UR slot. Next card is X-Saber Airbellum, level 3, Beast Tuner, 1600-200. When this inflicts battle damage to your opponent by direct attack, discard 1 random card from your opponent's hand. Pretty bad. This is a stronger white magical hat, except it has to be a direct attack. It can't even just be regular damage. Level 3 Tuner X-Saber. There's a better one. There's the XX Saber Full Helm Knight. Level 3 Tuner there. Yeah, I don't see an advantage over this card. Punch cards out of your opponent's hand isn't really a thing. Pretty bad. Last UR card is Ribbon of Rebirth. Let's see. Equip spell. During the end phase, if the equipped monster was destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard this turn, special summon it from the graveyard to your side of the field. Pretty bad. This is just battle resurrection, ignores effect destruction, bouncing to the hand, and banish, which is just too common. It could be okay for like stall, like a Fortress Warrior or something, but the Fortress Warrior could have like 4 lives basically, but you know, it still could get banished and bounced and effect destroyed. Let's move on to the SRs. There's 2 SRs in a box. Naturia Barkion, another reprint level 6 synchro. Dragon Synchro, Earth Tuner, Non-Tuner Earth monster, so 2 Earth cards, 2500, 1800. During either player's turn, when a trap card is activated, you can banish 2 cards from your graveyard and negate the activation. If you do, destroy it. This card must be face up on the field to activate and resolve that effect. If you played a Kiza Synchro Toolbox, you probably opened up the selection box and got this card, because this is... It's like a 1B to Archfiend's Call being the 1A. It's played a lot. Very core card to the level 6 Synchro Toolbox deck. Requires both Tuner and Non-Tuner with Earth, which works great with Akiza, because Angel Trumpeter's Earth and Dark Verger. So, level 6, ideal play against your back row. So let's say your opponent plays a bunch of back row, you're going to play this card over Archfiend's Call, because Archfiend's Call can get hit by Floodgate Trap Hole or anything that doesn't target. Naturia Barkion can negate multiple spells and traps each turn, so as long as you have enough ammunition in the graveyard. So it's going to be 2 cards cost each time. You're going to try to want to fill up your graveyard as much as possible before using this card. So maybe if you have a Cosmic Cyclone, hit one of those back rows so you have another spell to banish in the graveyard. Sometimes you're going to get some tough choices. You're going to have to banish like a monster that you want to keep for Battle Tuned, or sometimes you'll have to banish Dark Verger and you end your own game. But if you have the win condition, you might as well go for it sometimes. That's kind of the skill play when using Naturia Barkion in Akiza's deck. Next up, Simorgh, Bird of Beginning, level 1 Winged Beast, 0, attack 1600, defense. When normal summon, you can activate its effect. During your main phase, normal summon a Simorgh monster in addition to your normal summoner set. If this card in your graveyard and your opponent... This card's in your graveyard and your opponent controls no cards in their spell or trap zone, special summons in defense, but banish them when it leaves the field. Can't special summon monsters for the rest of the turn, except for Winged Beast. Alright, so you get a double summon off here. Nice card. Situational Resurrection again. You can use it as Tribute Father. Tribute Summoning is a very old mechanic, though, and that's what works against Simorghs, but this is a core card for it. You get that double summon off. Yeah, but that shouldn't really hamper this from being like a real archetype in the meta, just because they have to tribute summon so much, despite the double summon. Odd Eyes Saber Dragon, level 7, Light Dragon, 2800, 2000. If this card is in your hand, you contribute a light monster, send one Odd Eyes Dragon from your hand, deck, or side of field to the graveyard. If you do special summon this, when this card destroys a monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can destroy one monster your opponent controls. This is a light, and Odd Eyes Dragon is a dark, so there's some consideration for chaos there. There's light and dark. It'll cost you a light and dark to get this on the board. So, let's see. Yeah, so you tribute a light monster, and then Odd Eyes comes out. So you get a light and a dark in the graveyard. Special summon 2800. And that lets you use Dark Flare Dragon right away, actually. So you could pay off like a Eclipse Wyvern or something, and then you get off an ability for Legionnaire. Dark Flare Dragon, you pay up the cost of the light and the dark. So that's one practical use for this card. It's just consideration for chaos decks. The effect is battle dependent though, so it's the second ability. Destroys a monster by battle, sends to the graveyard, destroy another monster. That's a very mediocre ability. It's kind of a little win more situational. You're going to destroy 2, but not a bad ability. Overall, this is another card for your Chaos Lightsworn deck. Watchcat, level 1, Beast, 0 attack, 1800 defense. If you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. During your end phase, if this card was special summoned this turn, you can banish this card, set one continuous spell directly from your deck. You can only use each effect once per turn. Potentially useful. Special summons. It would like to be in the graveyard. You can banish it to set a continuous spell straight from the deck. Could be used for tribute or synchro fodder. A deck that uses continuous spells. I can't think of one right now, but 6 Sams, it doesn't really fit. Cursed Fig. This is another selection box card. Level 1, Water Plant, 200, 200. When this is destroyed by battle and sent to graveyard, target 2 set spells or traps on the field. While this is in the graveyard, those set cards cannot be activated. This is like a monster version of Xing Zheng Hu, and ability's not that bad against back row, but it's a bit situational. Needs to get destroyed by battle, which hurts it. And when this card activates, it usually means you're behind, because you got destroyed by battle, and then you're hitting back row. You're pretty much behind the 8 ball at that point. Yeah, there's some stall potential. I guess that's all I could see from it, but not that useful. Infernity Launcher. This is the other piece here. A continuous spell. Once per turn, you can send an Infernity monster from your hand to the graveyard. You can send this card to the graveyard, then target up to 2 Infernity monsters in your graveyard, special summon them. You must have no cards in your hand to activate this effect and to resolve this effect. So, they like being a handless archetype, so you send another card from the hand to the graveyard, you achieve that effect, send this card back to the graveyard, and then you can get 2 Infernities from the graveyard. Pretty good. It works pretty well with their with Kalin's skill to start off with the Avenger in the graveyard, so that you have a tuner right away. So you could get off a synchro summon. Yeah, another piece of the cash grab here. Simorgh Onslaught, normal spell. Discard 1 winged beast monster. Add 2 Simorgh monsters with different attributes from your deck to your hand. You can banish this from the graveyard. Reveal 1 winged beast in your hand. If you do, reduce the levels of your monsters in your hand with that name by 1 for the rest of this turn. You can activate 1 Simorgh Onslaught per turn. Not sure how useful this level modulating is. You could kind of bump down the 8s to 6s to make it a 1 tribute instead of a 2 tribute. But, yeah. This lets you tutor 2 Simorgh monsters from the deck at an even cost. It'll cost you 2 cards. seems like you want to throw away a card that could get out of the graveyard for free, like kind of like Simorg of Darkness, though. It kind of sets up a play. So this is pretty core for Simorgs. Weather Snowy Canvas. Continuous spell. The weather effect monsters in your main monster zones of this card's column and its adjacent column gain this effect. You can banish this card quick effect, add the weather card from your deck to your hand. You cannot add cards from your deck to your hand for the rest of the turn except by drawing them. So these weather spells and traps, they have monster positioning effects. Board positioning. So if you have a monster in the center of the 3 zones, all 3 zones get the ability. Now, if this is on the edge, an edge monster, you only get the center and the edge. You miss 1 zone. So the goal is to hit the middle so you get all 3 zones affected. Other than that, super boring card. You just tutor a card. You banish this, tutor a card from your deck to your hand. Pretty boring card, but seems to be, you get the weather card, so it's a worker spell. Trap card here. The Weather Thundery Canvas. Continuous trap. The weather affect monsters in your main monster zones in this card's column and its adjacent column gets its effect. At the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can banish this card, return that monster to the hand. Okay, so you can only have 1 of these at a time. Bounce ability, so let's see what happens here. You activate it, you give a monster the ability, they hit a monster, you banish this, you bounce them. That's basically it. Weird ability, it could be stopped by simple spell destruction, though. Like, you could knock this out with Night Beam, Galaxy Cyclone, Cosmic Cyclone. So as long as this is gone, the monster seems to lose the ability. So this is definitely very vulnerable to spell removal. Alright, Gotham's Emergency Call Trap. If a face-up X-Saber is on the field, target 2 X-Saber monsters in any graveyard, special summon them to both to your side of the field. It's just going to be yours because your opponent's not going to be playing X-Sabers. Nice late game play. You go for 3 monsters on the board. Situational, though, you need a face-up X-Saber. That seems to be their thing. They need that face-up card, kind of like 6 Samurais, for certain abilities to activate. Like, you need dual wield. You need that face-up, 1 face-up 6 Sam. They might know to flip you face down so your traps don't activate. Finally, Saber Hole Counter Trap. Activate only when you control a face-up X-Saber monster. Negate the summon of a monster and destroy it. Archetype specific, negate and destroy on a monster. This is better than Floodgate. Well, Floodgate's more of like a situational board clog, but not situational board clog, but it does a lot better. It's not like strictly better than Floodgate, but it is a whole card, so it's encounter Alistair. I guess that's something. No, it doesn't counter Alistair. Alistair's effect will still go off. So this lets the effects go off, which sucks. Alright, so now it's time for Doug's Casual Deck of the Week. And this week you are in for a surprise. Doug combines 2 archetypes that make no sense at all. Heroes and Harpie Ladies. So, if you're wondering how this works, why this came to be, why this is a Casual Deck of the Week, here is Doug Dimmaduel with it now.
Hey there, this is Doug Dimmaduel with Doug's Casual Deck of the Week. So this week I wanted to kind of just throw around a different idea because, of course, the whole theme of this is casual. So why not try to go a weird combination of stuff that kind of loosely works. It's not the most consistent, but it's still, it could still win you some duels. And that's the combination of a Harpie Lady deck with heroes, right? With really the main goal, getting into your elemental hero, Great Tornado, to cut the attack in half of your opponent's monsters. This is a great second turn deck. I like to run this with Elemental Hero Brave Neos, of course, as a good turn one play. So let's just kind of get into the deck layout. So you can run this with that one Harpie skill to make sure that you have your Harpie's hunting ground on the field. But I found that because of the favorite hero equip spell card, we are able to search out a field spell from your deck as long as you attach it to a level 5 or higher hero monster. It's not really necessary to run that skill with so you could run any any restart character. Restart's fine. We really don't need to feel the effects from missing out on that first draw of your duel if you have an opening with your appropriate fusion play. So really, this is kind of a fusion or bust type of deck, but running that copy of Harpie's Hunting Ground in the deck, and then running a copy of Necro Valley, depending on what kind of deck you're finding yourself going up against. If it's something that has a lot of graveyard and banishing effects, you can then search out your Necro Valley. Of course, this strategy has been going on in the competitive scene for a while, but in a casual setting, tying it up with Harpies works great, because if you have your Harpie's Hunting Ground in your field spell area and you summon your Harpie Queen or your Harpie Dancer, because you could summon your Harpie Dancer twice, because you could target one wind monster you control, return it to the hand, and then you can normal summon one wind monster. You can only use this effect of Harpie Dancer once per turn, so this really allows you an opportunity to blow up 2 back row cards on your opponent's side of the field. Now, one thing you need to note, though, with Harpie's Hunting Ground is if your opponent has no spells or traps, you have to destroy a spell or trap on the field. So either you're going to have to pop your own field spell, or you're going to have to pop your own back row. So sometimes you'll want to set like an extra polymerization or an extra Neos Fusion or something along those lines. So it is what it is. But as far as the monsters go, 3 Harpie Queen to search out your Harpie's Hunting Ground field spell if you need to. Harpie Dancer just to kind of allow that kind of combination to pop back row. And then Harpie Lady 3, which is just a really, really good card that your opponent kind of doesn't expect. So an opponent's monster that battles this card cannot declare an attack during your opponent's next 2 turns. But usually it's one of the first things to be used as fusion material with your Neos Fusion. Send that sucker to the graveyard. Then I'll run my 3 copies of Elemental Hero Blazeman, and then my 2 copies of Elemental Hero Neos. Now the extra deck is really just those 3 copies of Elemental Hero Great Tornado, 2 copies of Elemental Hero Brave Neos, and then 1 copy of Elemental Hero Nova Master. So the Great Tornado just requires an Elemental Hero monster and a Wind monster. So it's basically any of your Harpie Lady cards, and then any of your hero monsters, as long as you have your polymerization. Y'all know Elemental Hero Brave Neos by now. Everybody seems to run it, even though it's been taking a lot of hits in the limited list. And then Elemental Hero Nova Master is just in one of those weird scenarios where I have 2 hero monsters in my hand, and I want something a little different than Brave Neos, and that's just 1 Elemental Hero monster and 1 Fire monster. Must be fusion summoned. If this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, draw a card. So it can be pretty useful, regardless. Not the best fusion monster, but when you can combine it with your favorite hero spell equip card, it gains attack equal to its original defense. And then as long as there's a field spell on there, that effect takes place, and then also it cannot be targeted, by any effects. So really, really good equip card. I'll run 3 copies of it. I'll run my 2 copies of Neos Fusion, and then 2 copies of Polymerization for good measure. So the restart skill really allows you to open with with at least a better odds of having all your pieces for that fusion play. To me, that just makes this deck a little bit more consistent than having a field spell on the field when you start the game. To me, that's not as important because you're pretty likely to draw into a favorite hero equip spell card to kind of get that ball rolling with your field spells. But with Necro Valley, that's the MVP. It really just locks your opponent out of doing a whole bunch of graveyard shenanigans, and a lot of times they may not expect it, and once they see that Necro Valley hit the field, they'll just rage quit. So it's a pretty fun deck. I recommend giving it a shot. But yeah, that's it for my casual deck of the week. I will see you next time. Take care.
All right, thanks, Doug. You can check out Doug's Casual Deck of the Week every week on this podcast. Check out his Twitter account at Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck Talk. Continued news. We have one other new card this week. This is from Mission Circuit. Depends how fast you do the Mission Circuit. But it's a card that's not even released in the TCG. It's called Imitation. Spell. Target one token in the monster zone. Destroy it. If you do special summon a mask token, which is a spellcaster, dark, level 1 with question mark attack and defense that has the same attack and defense to your opponent's field, then inflict damage to your opponent equal to half its attack. So we have some token synergy here, which shows that this is pretty bad. We don't rarely see tokens, ever in Duel Links. So lets you make another token, copy its stats, inflict some burn on your opponent. It's a level 1, though, so it's not even going to be, like, XZ's relevant, I think. And not much to say about this card. I'm only getting one copy, too, so it's not like... I guess the only thing is it doesn't burn, but I don't know what token has, like, a lot of attack. You could think of some that have a lot of defense, like the... a big defender, I forget what it's called. It's kind of like an Aztec thing. An Incan statue thing. I forget, but not a very useful card here at all. Cards have been renamed. I thought this was pretty funny, but let's talk about it. Red Eyes Black Dragon, Malefic Red Eyes Black Dragon, Black Skull Dragon, Meteor Black Dragon. These were always, the word black was just never in it. It was just B. So like Red Eyes B Dragon, Malefic Red Eyes B Dragon, B Skull Dragon, I remember that one, Meteor B Dragon. So those have all been changed to black, which I assume is due to current events. So Konami is trying to be a leader in social justice, include the words black in the name. I never really knew why it was shortened to B. Like, it didn't make any sense to me. I think the main reason... I feel like there was because it all starts off as a Japanese card and then it's translated to the other languages. And sometimes the name in Japanese tells you what archetype it is. And that's why it leads to some confusion sometimes when cards are in the same archetype except their names are different in English because the translation went off bad in Japanese. I think the same situation happens here where the B... is something else in Japanese. I don't know, but they've all been changed to black. I think the Red Eyes Black Chick had its name changed. It's like... Let me see what Red Eyes Black Chick is called. On Wikipedia, Red Eyes Black Chick. Called Black Dragon's Chick now. So even that card's name has changed. All of these are pretty recent changes, I think, to the TCG. They've just been within the last month, so those changes are active in Duel Links. And then the last one, Armatile the Chaos Phantom, has been changed to Chaos Phantasm. And I don't think Phantom is a slur or anything. I thought Phantom was a slur in some ways, but apparently it's just been misnamed. There's always Phantasm, and they just messed up in Duel Links. So all those cards have been renamed. It doesn't change anything. I'm happy for it. Red Eyes Black Dragon should always be Red Eyes Black Dragon, not Red Eyes B Dragon. And that makes me wonder whether Little D and Lord of D will change their names. Alright, so that's it. Upcoming news, early August, Leo and Luna's Duel Carnival, new UR Hayabusa Knight, and SR Total Defense Shogun. Tour Guide Bingo, UR Counselor Lily, it's on a new card. Mid-August, DD Castle Siege, new UR Darkness Destroyer, and Cocoon Veil. Duel Quest, mid-August Tag Duel Tournament, UR Star Blast, and SR Sacred Defense Barrier. Late August, UR card, Beast Machine King Barbaros, that's not a new card. Late August, Raid Duel Dimensional Disaster, Endora Doom Vault the Cubic Emperor. We finally get Aigami. And August 29, 2020, KCGT Main Tournament. Just as a little preview teaser next week, we're going to go through the Ranked Duels updates. There's 2 new cards there. We're going to get to some of the remaining archetypes from this Infernity box. Maybe talk about the Perform Pals and For Hires. And then there's also the Duel Links dev tweet by ProGrize. I did not get to go through that because this episode is way too long. But I'm looking to unpack what he said on Twitter to everyone, and myself included. So that will be saved for some episode down the line when there's no content. Hopefully next week. But this week has run a little bit too long, so those topics will be saved for the future. So that is it for the podcast this week. Thank you very much for listening. Listen and subscribe anywhere. Tell your friends, to anyone who likes Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, to subscribe to this podcast. I'm sure it's worth their time. They have nothing to do. Check out the podcast. All these notes. I write a lot of notes every week. It takes a while. theduelassessment.wordpress.com. Find me on Twitter, duel_assessment, myself at Green Ranger CCG. Alright, so that is it. Stay safe, everyone. See you next time.